Hot dang. I do not know, guys. Listen, I was just over at DraftKings. I looked at the odds for the co-main event. Of course, I'm talking about Masvidal. I'm talking about Burns. What do you guys think that is? Please don't look it up. Don't look it up. You ruined the game. What do you think that is? Who do you think is going to win the fight? That's a good way of, who do you think is going to win the fight? Okay, let's start with that person. That's going to be the favorite. How much? If you were to bet a guy at work over it, would you just go even money? You bet $10? Win or lose, you owe $10. Win or lose, he owes $10. Would you do that? Or would you expect you to get some odds? Would you go double with him? You go double with him, you'd probably bet anybody at work about whatever realistically they wanted to bet, right? What if you went triple? Because if you go triple, then you're getting close. It's 4-1. It is 4-1 on Gilbert Burns. Wow. And you want to know something that makes me feel good about that? I don't remember the last time we showed Gilbert Burns any respect. I really don't. I can't remember the last guy it was. And I know the promotion thinks that they're showing him respect, putting him in a big feature match, putting him in a co-main spot on pay-per-view, right? A lot of co-main spots on pay-per-views are world titles. They're world title matches. Shevchenko lost her belt in a co-main event spot 3 weeks ago, just by example. So I know that they think that they're bestowing this upon Gilbert, and they would be if they came out and said it. They know what a beautiful spot that is. They know what they're attempting to do. They know the media that's going to come with it. They know the shine that they're giving Gilbert. You just got to come out and say it, though. But I really can't remember the last time somebody did something for Gilbert to let him know we acknowledge, we see your hard work, we see your success, and we acknowledge it. Until now, till you guys, right now at DraftKings. 4-1. Gilbert. Over a guy who was a #1 contender in the last 2 years. Over the reigning BMF champion. Over a guy in Jorge Masvidal whose last fight was in the 5-round club. And that is where you need to protect your money. Don't tell me the result. Don't tell me how he did against Colby. Let me tell you 2 things. First off, when you're used to going 5 rounds, and that's all Masvidal had been doing, all right? From the night that Masvidal won the BMF, that was scheduled for 5. I get that it stopped at 3, but his training and his preparation, he was ready for 5. Then he goes in, somewhere during the pandemic, he flies. On 7 days' notice, he somehow gets down to 170 pounds and fights Usman for all 5 rounds. Comes back and fights Usman again, even if the fight got stopped short. What he prepared for and what he was ready to do was for all 5 rounds. He then goes in with Colby, and he fights for a full 25 minutes. Let me share with you, when that's what you do, when that's what you're used to, 15 minutes, no problem. 15 minutes, one of the hardest things you could possibly do in life, one of the hardest sports, probably the most difficult sport that you could do. And unless you're used to 5-rounders. It was like Tim Kennedy and Brian Stann. Everybody's scared to go fight in a cage, except those 2. Because they've parachuted with machine guns, having taken fire on their way down. And they land, and now they're taking on a tank, right? I mean, it's one of these things. Like, okay, yeah, I guess if you had that experience, this little cage fight probably isn't so much for you. But at the same time, when 15 minutes is it, you have to understand that. Because Burns, of all the things, all the boxes you could check for Burns, that's going to be one. And everybody thinks that Masvidal is going to fade. As a matter of fact, people were talking about the line at DraftKings being so skewed for Burns because Masvidal in his last fight got tired. Well, sure he did. It was an incredible pressure. It was an incredible pace. Sure he got tired. And he was out there 70% longer than this match is even scheduled for. I do not think it's a fair assumption. I do not think it's a fair commentary to say that Jorge Masvidal is going to get tired in this fight. I think it's silly. I think it's untrue. It's the opposite of truth. There's also another belief that Gilbert Burns is the superior grappler. That is true. That is true that he is more decorated, for sure. Gilbert Burns has a medal from Abu Dhabi, for sure. but it is not the same level of wrestling that George is used to. I mean, George Masvidal right now trains with Amasa. Right now, trains with Johnny Eblen. Right now, trains with Bo Nickel. He was getting ready to fight Colby and he gave Colby some resistance with those takedowns. There was a number of things that Colby did to get those takedowns that just isn't in the Burns wheelhouse by example. Colby was real good at cutting Masvidal off and pushing him into the fence, just so you understand. Controlling what we call the danger zone, and most guys don't even know what that term is. Before he went down to his hips, drug him off, and took him to the mat. Those are not skills that Burns has. Now, the trade-off there is Burns can go with you on his feet. You can be as technical as you want, and George is. Burns is those great equalizers. He will throw those left and right hands. They will be reckless, but they will be harder than hell when they land. It's a very different fight. I think you're making a mistake with the conditioning, by the way. And even if we battle it out, because one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong. I'm not going as far as to tell you that George is going to crack Gilbert, that he's going to mentally get him tired. I just don't think that Gilbert's going to crack George. Not in 15 minutes. I think you're making a mistake there. And when you talk about the grappling, you are right. In terms of whose resume is more beautiful at pure grappling, you're right. But you're not right when you understand before that grappling comes into play, wrestling has to be taken place. Wrestling is going to decide. Wrestling is the great part of grappling, and people always miss that. They combine them. They think that grappling and wrestling are the same thing. It's not. When you're on your feet, you're not grappling, but when you're on your feet, you are wrestling, or at least you can be. It's significantly different. Masvidal had 2 preparations for Kamaru Usman, a national champion. He knew getting taken down was going to be a problem. He prepared for that. Masvidal's the one that threw an arm around Bo Nickel and got him to come out to the ATT and train. He's prepared for that. Masvidal just did an interview talking about Amosov, talking about Johnny Eblen. He just got out of the ring with Colby. He's prepared for it. He is prepared for it. Gilbert Burns has several ways to win this fight. But if you think he's going to go get George tired and make him quit, or you think that he thinks he's just going to go take him down, he doesn't think that. So you're betting your money. You got him as a 4-1 favorite, thinking he's going to go just take Masvidal down and make Masvidal quit. Gilbert himself doesn't think that. Gilbert knows he's getting ready for war. You're showing him respect to put him at 4-1. I'm seeing that as good money.